Hello, everybody.
Welcome back.
Hi, this is, my name's Jamie.
And my name is Meredith.
And wouldn't you know it, it's old-timey times. Yes, so grab your dinner, grab your snacks, cozy up, or whatever you're doing right now, continue to do it. And
just enjoy your life and listen to this and have a good time.
And okay, great. So this week we did watch a really cool film called The Phantom Carriage. The Phantom Carriage. Ooh. And it was a really, really good movie, I think. What do you think?
I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. Parts of it were a little long, I felt.
Sure.
There was a lot of story with a flashback within a flashback within a flashback, so some
confusing.
of it was hard to follow.
Yeah.
But overall, it was really well done. I thought the graphics, the graphics like we call them nowadays,
the
special effects were really well done.
Yeah.
The Phantom Carriage itself being very phantom-like throughout the.
Yeah, you see a lot. Film. When I was researching it, which I do very minimal research, like this is all stuff you can research yourself. This is Wikipedia, but it's just fun to get a little bit of a context, and I don't want to spoil it for myself. I just want a little something. But when I was reading for it, it was saying how influential this film was in the horror genre. Not necessarily because it had a horrific intent. Like I don't think it's made like Dr. Caligari's Cabinet, where it's like clearly supposed to be like a horror sort of movie.
Somewhere else, it's supposed to make you feel really uncomfortable and
and this movie definitely does, but it also it was saying like, oh, it could be a fantasy film, it could be a drama, a melodrama, a morality show, a morality play. It
did have some very stage-like qualities in the way certain things were set.
Yeah, it was very good. But it ended up influencing the horror genre a lot. So it's a really cool one to go check out. It's worth the time. It's 147 minutes. And I would say it's worth it.
I would say, for that hour and 47 minutes, you're invested in in what's happening. And it's like, who's this person and why are they interacting together? And one of the coolest things is actually the first scene of the big film. And spoilers ahead in case you needed to be reminded.
Oh, yeah, we're about to recap the whole thing for you. So
the best of our abilities here. So my favorite thing was it actually started out on a scene with 3 women.
Yeah. Yes, that was
been very rare in the movies that we've watched.
Yeah.
This is our 5th movie now in Old-Timey times in the silent film genre and the silent film horror drama fantasy genre.
Really strong women characters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And huge parts of the film too, which
all
is
throughout.
Really cool. So
see them time and again.
So I think it's no better time. Let's just get into it because it is a film. Okay, so we open up on a scene with 3 women.
These 3 women.
And we find out that they are from the Salvation Army.
They're Salvation Army sisters.
Yep. And it's this girl on her deathbed, Edith, spelt exactly like the word edit. But
yes. So we'll go with Edith.
Yeah, I think I think we're, because I was thinking like Edith, but without the Edith. So it's Edith, and she is dying, unfortunately, of consumption.
She's in her bed. She's not doing well.
Yeah, she is super sick. She's like knocking on death's door. Her mother's there, and her Salvation Army sister is there, kind of taking care of her. And she's like, before I go, I really would like to see
David home.
She's like, that's I got some unfinished business.
Go find this guy.
Yeah, and her brother and her mother and her sister are like, why? Like that guy's fucking awful. Like, why would you want to see him on your deathbed? And she's like, go get him, blah, 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 blah. So they go and
try to find David home.
Yeah, and like the beginning of this is like the mother and the fucking brother guy trying to go find it. And then it cuts to David home, and you find out who David home is. Well, actually, at this point, this is actually stuff you find out by paying attention to the movie and like
figuring
it out later.
This guy is David Home.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like reveals along the way. Like we don't know Edith and David's relationship. At first I was like, is this her? Because I guess like nowadays I'm like, who is it? Tell me now. Tell me why, give me the facts and move on. Yeah, like, but with silent films, what I like about older films is like they're just gonna give it to you in a different way. And you kind of have to like, anyway, so David Home is like hobo.
He's smoking on the street. He's drinking out of a bottle with his buddies. They're all just sitting around drinking together right on the street. He's smoking a cigarette. He's blowing smoke out of his nose, which I would imagine has got to burn.
Yeah, that's going to suck. Yeah, because that must be awful. And he's like on this bench with his buddies, and he's like, let me tell you a story. I've got a story for you. And it's about a guy named Jorge.
It could be George's. We're going to go with Jorge.
There's a couple of options. We're not quite certain. We've been calling him Jorge.
Jorge. So for the remainder of the show, we'll stick with that.
It's a weird spelling. So he's like, let me tell you about my friend Jorge. And he's like, he
was such a good guy.
Yeah.
He was great. He was wonderful. He was so jovial, and he was all like, har, har, har.
And then
all of a sudden,
shit went down.
He got real broody.
Yeah. And
real fast. And then come to find out, it's also New Year's Eve.
And exactly. And it's important to say that at this point, we get a full flashback of it. This is not dialogue.
Yeah, we're flashed back.
Yeah. They flash back to Jorge's. I almost said Greery because of The Shining. Yeah, you know.
So funny.
So Grady was his name in The Shining. Anyway, so they go back to Jorge's, and they flash to his story, and it's this guy, and he's like so happy, and he's at a bar, and he's like dancing around, and he's like woo. And he like all of a sudden he turns like super blue,
super brooding,
and gets like very, very depressed, and everybody's like, why? And then he's like, don't you understand that on New Year's Eve I get this way. Here, let me tell you a story.
Tell you what. So, and they start fighting, and he's like, you guys can't fight. Don't you know the story?
I forgot why he told the story. So his friends start fighting, and he's like, no danger. It's too dangerous. It's not safe to fight right now. Don't you know what happens to people who die on New Year's Eve?
The stroke of midnight.
The stroke of midnight. And he's like, let me tell you a story. Another flashback. So this is one of the things that I read about the movie, that one of the reasons why it was so like interesting at the time was these flashback scenes, because they were like a flashback within a flashback.
Oh my god,
that's a lot for a silent movie's.
It's a lot for a brain to process,
to handle with no dialogue
a lot in your head.
Yeah,
you have to hold a lot of awareness of the plot line and like who this person is and their motivations and why they're in this scene, and then which part of this flashback sequence are we in, and then when you flash back again, it's like, oh right, damn it, we were in a flashback. Yeah, and you're like, wait, where am I now? Who is this again? We liken it to Inception. This is Inception of old-timey silent horror films.
Yeah, old-timey times, like silent horror stuff. But it is Inception, and so we are into another layer where it's this haunting figure, and this is where in the movie, like, I don't know this is a beautiful movie. It's beautiful. Every single flashback scene has a different color film, like one's sepia, one's blue, like one's rosy, like it's so beautiful. And you see this carriage and a horse and like a Grim Reaper type
figure
character, as we'll find out. Very
hooded and got the scythe, and he's just riding the carriage, and it's a spooky looking carriage. It doesn't look it looks off.
Yeah, it looks a little off. And then what you see is, in this story, I forget kind of this part of the story, but this is where you see the thing superimposed, and
somebody like dies I think in a room, and it gets
is
out
that
of the
where
carriage.
this happens? When they go in the scene of like, okay,
like
look,
the montage of the Grim Reaper picking up people.
That's right, because they're explaining to him. So the lore is this guy, you know, the quintessential Grim Reaper that you know of today. Think of the scythe, think of the hood, think of the long
tall,
cloak,
dark figure in the long cloak.
Yeah. That is clearly, this is one of the movies where that came from. Yeah. Because this is exactly what has been shown again and again.
And if it didn't come first, if it came from it pulled from a previous culture too then.
Yeah.
And made this iconic image once more, or brought it into the visual film aspect, which was new at the time still. Relatively new anyway.
It would be interesting to find out exactly where that image comes from, like if it was written in a book as a shape of death or whatever it was. But it's just like, it's really, really iconic. This Grim Reaper character, and he is there. The lore is he has the person who dies at midnight, at the stroke of midnight.
Of course, it's always the stroke.
On New Year's Eve, the last person to die that year will become the Grim Reaper.
And every day is like 100 days for this guy. It's not a good experience.
Yeah, it's like, it's a form of hell. It's like a purgatory. And this guy works for death, and he has to do it for 1 year until the next person dies on the next New Year's Eve, and then that person takes over his post. So it's always the same carriage. It's always the same horse, but it's always a different reaper. So this is what Jorge is telling, and again, we're seeing this. This is a full flashback scene. And then we go back to the bar, and Jorge is like, do you see why I'm scared now? Is like, I don't want to do anything dangerous on New Year's Eve, because if I die, I'm going to be the Grim Reaper.
No, I don't want that to happen.
That sounds like it's going to suck.
Yeah. And I don't want to skip over that great montage of the Reaper, of the Rider, like, picking up dead people.
Oh, yeah, they show
him picking up that dude in, like, his apartment or the street or wherever he was. I forget where the first one was, but he was lying on the ground, and he just picked him up and then, like, launched him into the carriage.
In his little carriage, yeah.
And then they show the one where he goes over the water.
Oh, yeah.
It was really well done. It was really cool. And then he's, all of a sudden, it's like, wait, what's going on? And then he's under the water picking this guy's soul up out of his body to take it back to his carriage.
Oh, yeah, that was the coolest scene.
That was the coolest thing.
Okay, coolest scene alert. Like, it's when he goes underwater to find that drowned body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so cool. And you start to see, and you're like, that is a lot to take on in the non-digital film era.
This is all they had to work with.
Like how did they do that?
However they superimposed the images, or I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's what I assume it is.
They superimposed, like, the Grim Reaper going into the bottom of the ocean to pick up a drowned body, a soul out of a drowned body. And it's all superimposed. And I've said this before in another podcast, but in more than one way, this is a lot like The Christmas Carol.
Yes.
Yeah, the one in 1950 does a lot of that superimposed work for haunts, like for Ghost. Like, that's all Robert Marley coming up the stairs. He's like superimposed over the film. And that technique kind of pioneered by this movie. I don't know.
I don't know what the first iteration of that was, of like really superimposing images like that to give that kind of haunted style.
Gotta be one of the first. I mean, it's 1922.
Yeah.
So I think that the creative leaps they take in this movie is really cool to see without them knowing that they didn't have a ton of technology.
Yeah.
They just had to figure it out. So they end up making this cool looking ghost carriage with a ghost horse and a ghost Grim Reaper that you can see through. And it's just so cool.
He goes through walls.
Yep. They, like, dissolve in and out of walls. And I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
How are you doing that on film? Like, with no computers? Like, I don't know. But that would be so interesting, like, the history of, like, how film. Affects. But it's well done, too. Yeah. Like, it doesn't take me out. It doesn't look like an old movie trying its hardest. Like, it actually works. It was
genuinely creepy and genuinely impressive.
And so then we realize Greedy, oh my god, Jorge is telling this story, and then you pop back to David Home, who's telling
that story.
Yeah, that story. So so now we're in David land, and in this scene, and he's like, and I heard that Jorge died last year.
At this time.
Yeah.
Stroke of New Year's Eve, so.
And he's like, so that's my story, and wasn't it cool? And don't you guys like me because I tell cool stories?
I have cool things to say.
Yeah. And then and this is all the while Edith's brother and her mother is... And
they're looking for David Home.
Yeah.
They're still out on the streets looking for this guy.
And at one point, it seems like his brother has found David, and he comes up to David. It's like, you have to go see Edith. She's about to die, and she's asking for her last thing to see you. And he's like, no.
He's really not about it.
Dude, this guy is the worst.
He's the worst.
Yeah, David is not cool. There are some moments where I feel sympathetic to this character. I think just because it's a 2021 mind looking at someone who's clearly has a disease, like alcoholism. Yeah. And it's like, you shouldn't just, like, tell them they're wicked, but so David's like, no, I'm not gonna see her, I'm an asshole, and he's like, ugh. And then his hobo friends beat him up because he's like, even that's too low for us. Like,
they were like, you gotta go, and he was like, no, and so they got in this huge fight, and then somebody breaks a bottle over David Holmes' head.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what friends do, they bash you in the head when you're just being a dick about things.
Yeah. And it's like,
I don't mean that, by the way, in case you're out there wondering what real friends are like.
Friends equals no violence.
No violence.
No violence.
Lots of hugs if you're into that.
Yeah. Consenting.
Good boundaries if you're not.
Boundaries. And the point is, David Home did not have good boundaries with his friends.
And he killed him. He was not very nice to anybody.
He wasn't nice. So then,
he passes out. He, like, falls over, slumps out on this grave.
Mm-hmm. And
which I thought was just very interesting imagery, and kind of, again, very iconic in its presentation or in its style.
Yeah, like, it kind of looks the way that things are that he passed out in a cemetery.
Yeah.
And his superimposed body starts to kind of rise, and this is the personification of the soul. And this is where they use that, like, superimposed technique, and they make it all see-through, and it looks awesome.
It looks so
good.
It
looks awesome, man. And he sees the carriage coming for him, and he sees that it is Jorge, and Jorge gets out, and he's like, oh, dude, like, look
at your life, man.
Dude, that sucks. And he's like, not Jorge's, David is like, oh, my friend, I'm so glad you're here. You can take me to the hospital. And he's like, oh, that carriage doesn't fuck with the living. Like, if I'm here, you are dead.
Too late.
He's like, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you are dead, and, like, a hospital's not going to work.
I can help you now.
He's like, oh no, and Jorge is like, I actually don't want this is hurtful to me because I know that I caused you to be this way. He's like, I know that, like, I influenced you
down that path, and
yeah, and then you find out, this is where you get revealed that David and Jorge has a history. It's not just like a tall tale he was telling. It was like a person
that he knew that he knew. Out with.
Yeah. And then okay, and then there's, like, another story. Okay, Jorge tells a story. And he's like, don't you understand? I know that I'm, like, the bad influence on you. And it kind of travels back, another flashback scene of David's newlywed family.
With his living happily with his brother and his wife and their 2 kids. And
yeah.
it's very rosy, again, in the coloring that they used, like whatever color they did have. It was a very rosy kind of background scene, like a filter on there.
That was kind of like one of my favorite parts of the movie.
The music was pretty.
Yeah. Oh, the music.
The music is fantastic throughout this. There were some moments where it was just these really... There was a little bit of music and then these really creepy sounds.
Yeah, like doors opening.
Yeah, and like creaking. And it was so cool. It made me feel so cool to be creeped out in that way. To be like... What is that's so uncertain, but enjoying it, like
music
curiosity
is so powerful, and I mean, this is another influence this movie's had. There's so many modern techniques in that, like, scoring of the movie, like it's like the single, like, shrieking violin.
Yeah.
And then it has so much dynamic, too.
Yeah.
It's so dynamic.
Lots of piano moments when things are jolly. And...
Yeah, like clanging sounds, bangs. Like, it's just really, really beautiful. And this is, like, a part of the movie where it's, like, a cheerful music, and it's just beautiful reminiscing. And then...
Just playing around, having a good time.
I don't know if I quite remember what... like Jorge's part was, but it kind of really jarringly cut from that to them just, like, drinking in the field. so it's like, oh, remember your family time, and remember how you gave that all up to drink with me and my buddies in the field, and, like,
yeah, that's right. It was just like a weird flip moment where it's like now he's being like his soon to be hobo self.
Yeah, and
he's
like
just drinking with his buddies in the field.
Yeah,
and he stumbles home.
I guess
with his brother.
Oh, that's right. He gets so drunk, and, like, it's just like he stumbles home, with his brother drunk, and he barges into his home, or his brother does, and he's, like, being a jerk to the wife and the kids. And then the wife and the kids go to leave, and they see David drunk outside,
like passed out on the sidewalk. Like in front of the building.
So, like,
that's classy.
Somehow this...
It's not, by the way, in case you're wondering.
It's not
true.
It's not classy at all. Not classy at all. Not if you're trying to, like, meet new friends. So it's, like, some kind of flashback that sort of tells the story of how Jorge's led David down a path of debauchery that led him for his wife and kids to leave him. So that's another... Yeah, that's
They've abandoned him.
Yeah, they're gone. And he's like... This is him. This is where it still really starts to get, like, the Christmas Carol. Because this is this ghost, Jorge, who is death, being like, let me show you where you went wrong. Let me show you your wasted life. And
show you how you really treated people and how you really acted and behaved.
Yeah. And then, like, and the next memory he shows him it's David. Oh, no. He gets put in jail after that. Yeah, that's right. He gets put in jail, and then his brother gets put in jail.
That's right.
After his drunken night. And,
Come to find out, the brother has committed murder while intoxicated.
Yeah.
And the guard or the warden or whoever it is that's talking to David is like, we all think you should take the rap for this.
Yeah. They're like, you're an asshole. You led your brother into this life.
It's your fault anyway, so you should take the blame for his murder.
Yeah. They're like, you can serve his sentence.
I gotta say, David, in actual, I would say good fashion here is like, no, I'm
out
of here, and he leaves.
Yeah, and I guess
he's broken up. He's not all like la la la, jolly go lucky down the road here, but
yeah, but I think that what they were trying to do with that scene is, like, show how he's a jerk and he wouldn't give up his life for his brother. And he walks away.
Sacrifice himself for his brother who has a chance, right?
and this has been a while now. He must have been in jail for a little while. And then because he's like, I got to get back to my wife, and he goes back to his home, and he realized that no one's in there. They have completely moved.
They've left.
They're gone.
They've packed up. There's furniture turned over. Everything's empty. What's left behind is just abandoned. They're
like, David, we're sick of your shit, we're while you're in jail, we're gonna leave because you suck.
And get out of here.
And
he loses his marbles a little bit right here, I would say.
Oh yeah,
he swears that he is gonna make them feel as cold-hearted as he feels, or something like that. I forget exactly how I phrased it.
He's a very dramatic monologue, and this is all the while, like, he went to his neighbor's house, and he's like, well, where did they go? And he's like, is she ill? Did she die? And they're like, no, she left! Ha 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 ha! Like, they are cackling at him, and he's like, I swear, like, how dare, like, to leave me, I understand, but to abandon me without telling me first, and just up and leaving without a word is a betrayal that I cannot stand for.
Yeah.
And
so he's hella mad.
Yeah, he's hella mad, and he's like, I'm gonna find her, and I'm gonna exact revenge.
Yep. I'm gonna make her feel the same way that I feel right now.
Yep.
Whatever that means, we don't know.
He's a petty guy, and Death, which is Jorge's, is like, you see, like, I'm not even gonna get into how bad it got for you. Like, this.
As you traveled around.
As you traveled the land trying to find your wife and like,
kids.
He's like, yeah, there was some many, many years that I'm not even gonna show you.
I'm not even gonna show you. We're gonna skip ahead.
Yeah, and he's like, what I'm gonna show you next is, New Year's Eve last year. Or, the last year.
The year previous.
And, he's like, I don't know why. He says something to the effect of, like, I'm gonna show you what you put Edith through. You know? And, they go back to when he meets Edith for the first time.
He's drunk.
He's stumbling around, and he stumbles into a Salvation Army. Which is apparently an institution that has been around for a long time. Yeah. 1922, I had no idea where it started, but I guess back then.
It was already a thing.
Yeah. And, so he wanders into the Salvation Army, and he's like, I am drunk. I just need a place to stay. And Edith is, okay, she is a good character. It's not that she's not a good character. I just think she's too much. I think she's a little too much of the whole, like, that goody-goody spirit.
A little too pure, a little too idolized.
It's really hard for me to watch that character and not roll my eyes. Sometimes, because I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so pious, you know?
Yeah, she'd pray to God that their first visitor would, like, have a good year, and that their first visitor would come to them that night.
And just being, like, overly accepting of the bullshit he does to her. Yeah. I'm like, no!
Yeah. She's all like, okay, you want to come in and pass out? Here's the bed.
Yeah. And she's like, while you pass out, I will do you a favor out of my kindness of my soul, and, like, it's late. Like, they've had a long day. It's late. And she's like, I'm going to stay up and sew his coat and put patches on his coat.
And mend his jacket for him.
And, and even her Salvation Army sister is like, that's a little much. And you need to go to bed, and you can't pour from an empty cup. So, like, I'll do it. And she's like, no, let me do it. And she's like,
all like, the sterilization tank isn't even working yet. That thing is full of germs. Don't even touch it.
Oh my god, this is the worst part. This is intense. But she, his jacket was so dirty that the Salvation Army sister was like, don't touch that.
Don't even touch it.
And she's like, our sanitation shit is, like, broken. And she's like, oh, I'm so great and nice that I'll do it anyway. I don't care if I get sick. And she did get sick. She got consumption, which she
sick from
interacting
with this guy's coat.
So when we start the movie,
she mended it all night long.
Yeah, and so when this is another way where they play with time, I think, because this is where you find out that she is sick because of him. Because when we open up the movie, we don't know why she's in the bed. We don't know why.
We don't know what she's got. We don't know how long she's been ill.
Yeah. We just know she's on their deathbed, and now we're finding out, it was because she mended a gross coat that had consumption germs all over it, and pneumonia and shit like that. Not that pneumonia is not a germ, but so then where was I? Consumption. Oh, she gets consumption, and then her sister's like, oh, don't do that, you're being too nice, and she's like, oh, I've got to do it. And then he wakes up the next day and he rips her coat apart.
Rips all the patches off.
Yeah.
He's all like, I got used to it like this, as he puts his fingers through the holes in his jacket.
Yeah, and you think, she's like, oh, I spent so long on that, but she's like, you know what, come back next year. Just do me a like, you can leave.
Do me a favor.
But
live your life, but just come back and see me at this time next year on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And she tells him, like, I prayed for you, for the first person who came here to have a good year, and so I just want to see if you know, how it goes for you. And he literally says, God didn't give a fig to you or I will come back in a year to prove to you that God didn't give a fig to you or your twaddle.
What?
Remember that line? God didn't give a fig to you or your twaddle.
Oh, does it say your twaddle?
Yeah.
Oh, can I see that?
It's this line right here.
Didn't give a fig to you or your twaddle. Oh my God, what does that mean? That's so bizarre.
Her prayer is just her like toddling.
Yeah,
on.
her tweet.
Yeah.
You know,
just out there, meaningless and no big deal. And
yeah, he says God doesn't give a fig
about you
or your twaddle. So yeah, he's like, figure twaddle, I'm out of here. And then he's like, he leaves, and Jorge is like, do you remember that flashback, that memory? Wasn't that shitty of you? And Jorge also, I forgot what was another thing, like he saw his wife and his kids.
Yeah, like don't the nurses, the two Salvation Army sisters, go out to like a bar? They go out somewhere or to the church or something, and they find this woman. They find a woman, and they bring her back to the Salvation Army. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I'm his wife. She admits to the two ladies that she's his. Oh, she's what's his face's wife.
Yeah. Okay. So that does remind me, there is an in-betweeny sort of flashback where they bring him back to a bar, and she comes in, and she tries to give him an event poster, like a flyer, and she's like, you should come to this event, and he grabs it, throws it in his face. And then there's something about that, and then that's what
this one's a doozy.
Yeah, there's a lot of flashbacks, but where does it go from there?
I'm pretty sure that's where. So the sisters have found this woman, and she admits that she's David's wife. And she's like, I never thought they would find me here.
That was in a church, though. Where did that church come from?
I think the sisters left to go look.
Okay, because he's like, I came for something. I remember something like that.
Yeah, like he explains to I think the sisters before they leave that he's like, I'm on a mission. I've got something to do here.
And then they go to church?
I guess. I mean, they're sisters.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Something happens in the church. Anyway, eventually we meet up with David Holmes' wife. That she is running from him, and they end up, she notices him at church, and he's being a jerk at church too. He's telling this woman who's coughing, who's trying to hold her cough, to go cough on everybody, and
because that's what he does, because he doesn't give a fuck,
and he's just being a fucking asshole there. And I think this is where he's like, oh, well, whatever, I'm on a mission to avenge my wife. And then the wife meets up with the sisters after he leaves, and she's like, I'm the wife.
I'm the wife.
I'm the wife.
And the sister is like, you got to go back with him. You don't know what it's doing to him.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and she's like, you've got to confront him, and you've got to go see him. And she arranges for them to meet. Yeah.
And they meet.
And he, like, cleans up a little bit, and they, like, have a moment where they sort of come back together.
She puts her head on his chest. That kind of...
It's kind
classic scene. Classic moment.
Yeah, like a more sweet moment. And this is when Edith really starts getting sick, because there's a point where she's in the hospital bed. And she's like, like what's going on with them? And the woman is like, oh, we shouldn't, don't tell her the truth about what had happened.
Yeah.
You know? And what happened was he eventually did go crazy again and, like...
Gets drunk again.
Yep. And storms into storms around their house and...
coughs in the children's faces while they're asleep.
Yep.
Which we know he likes to do, so that's what he did. And then next thing you know, she's all like, don't do that. Don't cough in the kids' faces. Oh my God, whatever.
And she locks him in the bathroom, and she tries to get her kids together to run away again.
She's getting their coats on as quickly as she can. In the meantime, David, locked in the bathroom. Why there's an axe in the bathroom, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Yeah. Oh my God, there's so much to this movie. So here's another iconic scene. He grabs the axe, and maybe it wasn't the bathroom, and I'm thinking it was the bathroom because I'm thinking of The Shining. But
it might have been the bedroom.
Yeah, it might have been the bedroom. Wherever it is, they have an axe, and he starts axing through the door, and it's just like The Shining, you know, Jack trying to get through the door. And
goes after the handle, goes after the panel.
And her heart basically gives out. And
she faints.
Yeah, and she faints. And he is, like... just I think kind of a jerk about it, you know, like it's like he doesn't really care. And the Grim Reaper at this point was like, we have got to get you to Edith's bedside because that's what she asked for and that's what she's gonna get, and I'm gonna bring you there. And Edith is basically begging to the Grim Reaper to be like, hey, please
give me one more day.
Yeah, give me a little while longer because I need to see David home. He's the love of my life.
No.
Yeah. So I just get kind of pissed off that, like, she's in love with him or whatever it is.
It's a little irritating. I agree.
Yeah. And, like, everything he's done to her and put her through, and, like, she's like, no, I need to, if it wasn't for me to bring them back together... then
this never would have happened. She blames herself for the whole thing.
Yeah, she says, oh, it's a magnitude of evil that he wouldn't have been judged for. Like, I added to his sins. And she's like, I'm begging. And then David kind of crawls up to her side, and she sees him, and she dies. And the Grim Reaper is like, oh, it's okay. She is going to be picked up by someone else. Like, so the angels are coming to get her.
She's not our jurisdiction anymore.
Yeah,
We're just going to leave her here, and somebody else is going to come and get her.
So then, where does he bring David after that?
David and the Grim Reaper... and Jorge are going to see David's wife and his 2 kids. He's still a ghost man.
Okay, yep.
He's a ghost.
Oh, that's right. Because he's like, oh, no one will believe me that I'm trying to be a better person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because he's suddenly starting to realize, like, even if I try, no one's going to believe me that I want to be a better person. And so the Grim Reaper's like, come with me. And so they go to his wife, and she's got that little piece of paper of poison.
This is such a good part, too. Oh, my God. I forgot all about this. So she's got a thing of poison,
and she's like, this will be enough for me and my 2 kids.
Yes.
And David is like... begging. He's literally on his knees begging. He's like, tell me who to beg. Tell me who I should be even begging to. Like, I don't know if I beg to... He's like, I'm begging to God and I'm begging to death. Please don't let them take... Please don't take them. Please don't take them. Please don't take them. I'll do anything kind of a thing. And she's mixing the poison into some tea and pouring some tea. And he's all like, please, oh my goodness. He's literally begging. And then the Jorge, the Grim Reaper, is all like... Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay. It's okay now. Yeah. Okay. So you're like a good person now, and we can see
You've changed.
You've changed, and we can see your sincerity. And he's
it really is like the Christmas Story in that way.
Yep.
And he's like... kind
of like It's a Wonderful Life, which I've never seen, but it's kind of what it reminds me of. I've seen parts of it.
Yep. Oh, yeah, It's a Wonderful Life, for sure, for sure. And, I totally forgot about that. So, Edith dies, and then the Grim Reaper is like, we have one more thing.
We have one more stop to make, and he goes to see the wife.
And the children, because he's gonna kill them.
They're about to die, so he's about to take their souls if they die.
Because she's gonna commit murder-suicide. Oh, my God.
It's serious shit.
And it is a really, really intense scene, too, because you just, like, feel so hard for for him begging for them to live. And the music's really intense during that time. And you're just, like, on the edge of your seat. And that's how I felt, too, when she was trying to get the kids ready to leave.
Yeah. That was a really intense scene.
They do really intense stuff very, very well. Which I really appreciate that they really just, like, kind of went there as far as like making things really intense but like creative. It's just so well done. Mm-hmm. So well done. And so he begs to live again, and then Jorge is like, okay. He's like, I don't have to grieve you anymore. You've changed. And then then David is like, David's like, oh, I repent, I change my ways or whatever. And his wife is like, how the fuck am I supposed to believe you?
Because he goes back to his body.
Yeah.
He goes back, they're all like, Grim Reaper is like, yeah, okay, I believe you, I'll give you a shot here, and puts him back in his body.
Yeah.
And so David wakes up, and he's like, oh shit, oh my God, I gotta go and run to my family, and he runs, and he stumbles, and he runs, and he gets to the wife, and
oh, that's right. Right in time.
Right in time.
Yeah.
He gets there right in time to stop her from doing this horrible deed.
And then she ends up forgiving him because he's crying, because he's like, I'm such a bad person and no one's going to believe I changed. And she's like, I will believe you. And she starts crying too. Yeah. And then he has a final prayer where he's like, Lord, let my soul
Please let my soul come to maturity before it is reaped.
Yes. And they're like a little while back in the movie, Jorge and him had this conversation where Jorge was saying, there's really only one thing that I pray for the living to pray for, and that is for their souls to reach full maturity before being reaped.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure collecting souls for that long has depressed him. Like young souls,
Old souls, people who didn't really live out what they wanted or died with a dream.
Yeah. So I thought it was a really good last line for the show.
For the movie.
And it was so good, too. And I really liked it. I think this is... I would say it's the best, like, cinema film. Like, cinematic... one that we've seen so far.
Yeah. It really covers a broad range of things, and I think as much as like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is, and what was the last one we just watched?
This one, the last one we watched was Faust, right?
Faust.
Yeah, Faust.
Like it was cinematic and theatrical, like I thought those were too, where there was a set involved, there was a definite plotline involved, there was a definite lighting structure. Like some of the shadows that they used in this film were really beautiful. Yeah, this movie has more tact. I feel it has more elegance about it. Much more of a drama sequence than the cinematic or the theatrical aspect of it. The kind of blown out of proportion, bigger than.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's more realism.
Yeah. A little bit more like. Less like big weird faces and
and there was...
they didn't have the thick eye makeup. But this is, as we mentioned earlier when we started the movie, that this is our first Swedish film. We've been watching all German films up until now, so this is also done by a completely different style by completely different directors, people who are coming from a completely different background of filmmaking.
So I mean,
light and shadow and sound and music. So movies are movies, but this one was really, I thought, a good package all in all.
I thought there was a lot modern about this movie. A lot of modern.
There are a lot of dragging moments, I will say, where it's like, why are we still zoomed in on this water? Why are we still looking at this guy on the street?
Like the scenes linger, but
some of the scenes linger,
but they're not as bad.
But I think that's also very common to the silent film genre in general, is that they spent a lot of time on things, whereas now we're like, okay, cut to. Yeah, we got it.
Like I said, it's like, give me that information and move on, and that's very much like indicative of our modern world, and like our generation is we're really like cut fast, give me the bullet points, like
show it to me now.
Reading a full novel is like a big commitment. I'd rather just like get some bullet points, kind of mentality. So it's like it's an act of love to pay attention this hard to a film, because it's not going to spoon feed it to you.
Yeah, and this one had a lot of moving parts to it too, so our apologies for the kerfluffle there that we may or may not have had.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm thinking, and like we can edit out anything we want to edit out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that we can hopefully got what we needed in this. So
I think it's great. I think it's going to be great. I hope you guys thought it was great too.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this, kind of off the rails sort of version
of Old-Timey Times.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. We love you.
Thanks. Have a good evening wherever you are. Good day.
Bye.